In June 2025, FromSoft released Elden Ring Nightreign, a game completely separate from Elden Ring. Rather than expanding on Elden Ring with more vast exploration, Nightreign introduced a roguelite, co-op-driven structure. Players known as Nightfarers venture into a corrupted realm called Limveld to survive 3 grueling in-game days, culminating in intense boss fights. Although it retains FromSoft's challenge and storytelling, Nightreign has sparked controversy. Some praise it as a fun new experiment, while others criticize its matchmaking, lack of solo play, and dramatic structural changes. I think Elden Ring Nightreign is a beautifully crafted game, and it makes me a little sad to see the amount of hate it's getting, so I want to explore the criticisms that people have and offer a counter argument that can, I guess, show Nightreign as being ambitious rather than it just being dog shit. So let's start with the core gameplay. Unlike Elden Ring, Nightreign trades open-world exploration for a tightly structured loop. Players embark on timed expeditions in groups of 3, facing procedurally generated threats and ending each day with a major boss encounter. 8 distinct classes, called Nightfarers, offer varied playstyles. You've got standard melee, Wilder, he's got a grapple hook, that's awesome. You've got Iron Eye, he's probably the easiest class to play, especially if you're new to Souls-likes. And they've even got a class specifically for Asmongold.
The problem was dodging, and so we removed the need for it.
And Victory unlocks relics to improve future runs. The design takes inspiration from titles like Hades and Risk of Rain 2, fusing Souls-like combat with roguelite repetition and experimentation. Though the game reuses familiar Limgrave scenery, the lore of Elden Ring Nightreign is that it is a mirror timeline parallel to Elden Ring, telling a different story. Despite its boldness, Nightreign has faced 5 major areas of criticism: co-op restrictions, matchmaking issues, being too repetitive, asset reuse, and punishing solo difficulty. So, let's start with the multiplayer accessibility. At launch, Nightreign only supports 3-player co-op and solo. The exclusion of duos leads a lot of people to feel left behind. Solo queuing to find randoms can take a stupid amount of time. But this leaves people struggled to engage meaningfully with the game because it is geared towards a 3-player co-op experience, not solo and not duos. That's why it's not in the game. And we can move straight into unstable matchmaking, failed sessions, crashes, combined with penalties for disconnections. This creates a unwelcoming multiplayer experience. The next one, people don't think it's random enough. A lot of people like to point out how not a lot of the upgrades you get actually leave too much of a mark on your build and actually do something meaningful, and every run feels very similar. I watched Moist Critical's video. He talked about every problem that everyone is having with the game. He played through about 4 of the Night Lords, and he's making his review because he doesn't think the game has anything left to offer. He says that every run feels exactly the same.
Now, my biggest complaint here is how every run feels exactly the same. You drop into the same map, albeit in different locations, but your route usually kind of stays the same.
The game has 4 different maps. It has a base map and 3 what they call shifting earth events. These are variations of the first map with a new area and new enemies to the environment to change around your strategy. Each shifting earth has a secret that you can use to buff your run, and then it also gives you an achievement. That, for one, is random. You can't pick a shifting earth event. It just happens by random. The downside is that if you have a shifting earth event active, and you queue for it, you will only queue with people with that shifting earth event active, so it limits you. But back on topic. With the randomizing, even with the base map, not everything is in the same exact place. Every map has set POIs that have set enemies. The enemies are dictated by the ailment that is randomly assigned. So if it's electricity and it's a ruin, it is most likely Beastmen of Farum Azula because they do lightning damage. If it's a ruin and it's poison, it's a perfumer. If it's a ruin ruin and its magic, its battle mages. These are all randomly set that you have to deal with. And this doesn't even count for the castle POIs that can have a golem on top, a crystallion and a mage. There's also other castles that have the abductor virgin in there, or up top the knight with the shield. I don't remember what the fuck he's called. That's random. It's a really polished random system. Every POI has a random affinity and random enemies. And the reason why there's random affinities is because every Night Lord is weak to an affinity. Tricephalos is weak to holy, Gaping Jaw is weak to poison. That's another really unique thing. The game will promote you for building a run through the randomly generated stuff on the map. If you go up against Gaping Jaw and you're using a poison weapon and you hit him enough with it, he will actually be stunned and will vomit, which gives you an opportunity to absolutely hack away at his ass. I think that's a really cool detail. But people's main points is that the upgrades you get from killing bosses don't actually do anything meaningful. It's like just a number that changes the stat. Like going back to what Moist Critical said, he said the only like cool build he did is when he found a lot of the walking effects that like create a cloud when you're walking. And this confuses me because what do you want out of an Elden Ring roguelike? Because what I think people are complaining about is that they're not able to make builds that make them look like a soldier syringe build in Risk of Rain 2 where your attack speed is just off the fucking charts. I don't think people are actually thinking about their builds because the game will let you pick from 3 different ones. You could go for like a max HP build if you're like Raider or you're the Guardian and you want a tank, and especially with like stamina, especially with Guardian because you're going to be blocking and that takes stamina. You're able to just stack stamina and you won't really need to worry about it for a while. And then people complain about not getting stuff for a meaningful build because the game's random. There's more randomness to it, so you don't really get to build a crazy nuts build because there's not drops left and right, which makes people feel kind of weak. One thing that like Risk of Rain 2 does is like if you put the final boss from Risk of Rain 2, like Mithrix, compare him to a Night Lord, you don't have to fight Mithrix as soon as possible. You can loop and just continue building your build until you think you're ready. With Nightreign, it's an extremely quick run to just get as much shit as you can and be level 15. That max level does seem to restrict people, but what people really want is just make a nuts build, which I don't think would really fit. You really have to be smart, like especially when you're playing like Recluse, like a mage class, and you get Comet Azure, which is the most busted spell in the game for damage. You can make a build where you lower your FP consumption, which Comet Azure uses, which means you get to use it for longer, and you could just absolutely munch through a boss in 30 seconds, which is nuts. Especially with the relics. The relics are probably the most roguelite thing ever. You take something away from the random runs and bring it back to you in the lobby so you can build a good loadout. It's not like Risk of Rain 2 where you're completely starting from nothing. You get 3 slots that are color-coded and it lets you pick relics that you get randomly. There's more random shit there. I also don't know why people say the relics are underpowered. I saw this video of someone playing Iron Eye and he just had a crazy skill build and he just had his knife over and over again. He used it for a skip to get down to the forge, which I think is awesome. So I think people just need to play the game actually and actually really think about what to do instead of just complaining that they can't run at 1,000,000 miles an hour. The asset reuse of Elden Ring creates a sort of DLC feel. Much of Nightreign's environment design and enemy pool is drawn from Elden Ring. While altered visually and behaviorally, the reused assets prompted players to dismiss the game as a repackaged version of previous content with a new coat of paint. The game also has a brutal solo experience. Players attempting to solo Nightreign find it incredibly hard. The trio balanced encounters combined with high enemy density and timer stress, it overwhelms people that are still really good at Souls games just because of imbalance. But each of these criticisms, while valid from a surface level, can be understood and even justified within the context of the game's design. Unlike optional co-op in Elden Ring, trio play is central to Nightreign. Every class has trade-offs meant to encourage team synergy. Guardian absorbs aggro to a degree. It's kind of fucked. Recluse can use her affinities to buff people. Damage dealers absolutely munch through bosses like Wilder and Raider. Raider's nuts, by the way. A lot of people think he's ass. This structure allows for deeper teamwork and layered strategies not typically seen in FromSoft titles. The devs even announced a duo mode to address the concerns, which shows a willingness to evolve. Also, while recording this video, they gave you 1 revive per night boss, which is already even better than before on launch. With the technical flaws, the matchmaking issues, while real, are fixable and already improving with post-launch patches. FromSoft has a strong history of stabilizing its games over time. These are launch pains, not long-term flaws. They do not reflect the underlying gameplay, which is fast, brutal, and satisfying once the system works. With the asset reuse, Nightreign isn't meant to be a brand new world. It's a corrupted echo of Limgrave, woven into the game's lore. Reused assets serve as a narrative purpose. You know Limgrave. Everyone who's played Elden Ring played through Limgrave, and now you're going through it again in a different scenario with a different story. In Nightreign, what's reused is often reshaped. Enemies have new movesets and altered behavior, like the demi-human queen. She throws her staff, it's nuts. With solo, FromSoft has always catered to hardcore players through self-imposed challenges, like level 1 runs. In Nightreign, solo play isn't the default path. That said, the game does allow for adaptable builds and relic loadouts to help mitigate difficulty. With updates and balancing patches, solo runs would likely become more viable. It's also just like a get good. The director of Elden Ring Nightreign said that he has soloed every Night Lord in the game. So anyone that's really complaining that it's too hard, I don't know. You're playing a Souls-like game. Last year, they released fucking Consort Radahn. Elden Ring Nightreign will not please everyone, especially those who hope for another open-world game. But to dismiss it as broken, lazy, or directionless is to miss its vision entirely. It's a game that chooses compression over expansion, urgency over patience, and team strategy over lone heroism. While technical issues and high difficulty mar its launch, these are solvable. What remains is a focused, thrilling experiment in cooperative roguelike design. In many ways, Nightreign is FromSoft's boldest move, not because it builds on Elden Ring, but because it dares to become something else entirely. A multiplayer-focused Souls-like game. And to anyone who's saying this game is a cash grab, it probably is. But it's a $40 cash grab with no microtransactions and no battle pass. That alone is awesome.